morning. Thank you very much for coming to our event here. As it was announced, we have this workshop on the new security dimension in the MENA region, a special event organized by released Political and Economic Institute, MEPEI. President Flavius is here. Our EURISC Foundation, and also with the support of the Embassy of Islamic Republic of Iran, and we want to thank His Excellency Ambassador. Okay, we are in a very special place. We have to learn how members of the Academy are working. It's a little bit different as normal places for events, but in case it's more comfort, you see, we will have a very successful discussions. So, in the same time, I have to announce that this event is a privilege to have here an important delegation of our colleagues from Tehran, from the Institute IPIS, under the leadership of Mr. Mostafa Zahrani, and yes, thank you. We have here Mr. Sayed Wahid Karimi, Head of European Division. So in IPIS, and for a long time we had the chance to visit each other in Bucharest and Tehran, and also Professor Ghulamali Chikzadeh from the Alamah Tabatabai University in Tehran. Here at the Presidium we have also our colleague Razvan Buzatu, a person you will discover in his presentation that he knows a lot from the area as with boots on the ground, so it's the famous formula, the boots on the ground. So for the beginning, if you accept, please, to invite our colleague, President Flavius to say some words. Please, Flavius.
Good morning, Excellencies and distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to express MEPEI appreciation to EURISC Foundation, who has accepted our partnership in convening this international seminar, and MEPEI gratitude to the Embassy of the Islamic Republic of Iran to Romania, who has supported us in organizing this event, and the partner, Loyal House, Boloshoiu and Antico, who has involved in sustaining our effort. So the latest occurrences in the Middle East and North Africa have repositioned once again this region in the center of geopolitical strategic global analysis, because the tumultuous situation in the MENA countries has a spillover effect on the neighboring regions, one of them being the European Union. In these turbulent times, characterized by resumed violent hostilities between Palestine and Israel, aggressive clashes in different places in the MENA region, proliferation of extremist organizations, for example, Daesh or ISIS, and augmented humanitarian crisis due to the ongoing Syrian conflict. European commitment to stabilize the situation in the MENA region is seen more as a necessity than a political declaration on the European Union foreign affairs agenda. Furthermore, the future outcome of the Iranian nuclear file negotiations will profoundly impact the level of stabilization in the MENA region and will reshape the energy strategy in the region and on the global level. The seminar aim is to debate timely and valuable aspects concerning the security in the MENA region in the new political and economic context triggered by latest developments in the region and the potential influence of the future 5+1 negotiation on balancing the power forces in the region. And before I close, I would like to thank our distinguished speakers from IPIS, Alamah Tabatabai University, Centru de Studii Strategice, EURISC Foundation for bringing their expertise, vision, and knowledge to our gathering, and to thank each of you attending this seminar. Thank you very much. Professor.
Thank you also. So, Iran means now a country which is in progress in the discussion about nuclear issues, about sanctions, about the results of these talks already started in 2007. The first meetings between unofficial meetings between representative of State Department and representative of Iran, and there are some progress, some challenges, and we are very privileged to have here the General Director of IPIS, Mr. Mostafa Zahrani. He knows from inside these problems. So I want to invite you, Professor, for the first to start on this topic. You have to maintain the.
I should maintain all the time. I need my finger.
It's an academic.
It's the most difficult task, you know.
You just keep your finger. I maintain and you have to keep
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Good morning, everybody. I'm very happy to be here in this country. I appreciate our colleagues from this country, EURISC Foundation, and the others. I very much appreciate. This is my first time being here in this country, and I learned to be very much important to be to have such discussions. It's been very fruitful and learning process for me. I try to talk about a nuclear issue which is important in the future of the region and also at the international system level. So I try to be as talk a little bit in length to give you a very clear picture, at least from the point of view of my country. As you know, the current negotiation began under the new presidency of Dr. Rouhani. It was really a demand of the people because they came to the ballot. 73% of the people came for the election, and it was it had a message. One of the message was that we don't want to be, in the conflict within the international community. And one indication for not having such a conflict was to, resolve nuclear issue. Of course, the same team was in the office, let's say, 10 or 13 years ago. Dr. Zarif and Rouhani, at that time, they were also part of negotiation. They signed agreement with Europeans and also the other, big powers. But unfortunately, European did not deliver what they supposed to do. That's why, at that time, negotiations did not succeed. And now this is the second time that the same group is in the office. And I believe it's very important. So the question would be why Iran has come to the table and why Iran has signed this Geneva Accord. The real answer is that the assumption in the mind of the decision makers in the team, including the leadership, is that Iran does not need a bomb, period. If Iran does not need a bomb, then it means we should solve this issue. And one may ask why Iran doesn't need a bomb while you have the capability, technical capability. If you have it, why don't you try to have a bomb? The answer is that Iran does not need a bomb for many reasons. One, we are not really, absolutely not under the pressure domestically to go for a bomb, like a country like, let's say, Pakistan. there is not really any pressure domestically. We don't need. The people believe that there is no need. The second reason is that bomb does not bring prestige for Iran, like some other countries which have bomb because of the prestige. We do not need that prestige. Everybody knows that now, at this moment, Iran is prestigious enough and has enough role when it comes to the region. So why we should create problem for ourselves to bring a prestige through a bomb? So that's the second reason. Third reason is that bomb does not bring a better status for Iran in the international arena. And not only that, it creates more problem for Iran. So this is the third reason why should we not go to nuclear. The fourth reason is that many have think that, okay, Iran is surrounded by many enemies and some of them nuclear, so why not Iran go to nuclear to get to deterrence capability? The argument is wrong, because that does not bring Iran deterrence capability, because first of all, some of the enemies, including Israel, Americans, do have at least 200 bombs, based on what has been said. Assuming Iran has a few bombs, that cannot bring the second strike capability for Iran, which is very important when you talk about deterrence. So that's one reason, even in the security sense, bomb does not bring for Iran a deterrence, Second is that with those countries which have the bomb, other countries including, Pakistan, that Iran has no problem at all. There has been no war, and nothing. So why should Iran be concerned for that? So the most important issue is the second strike capability, which bomb does not bring Iran second strike capability. That's one thing. And at the same time, strategically speaking, Iran is now superior when it comes to conventional weaponry. Assuming Iran gets a bomb, that means, proliferation. Other countries in the region also will go for a bomb. If they get to a bomb, Iran has a bomb, it means then Iran will become equal, and Iran will lose its superiority, which we have now at the, conventional level. For that reason also, Iranian strategic thinkers think, okay, why should we go to nuclear if you are already superior, and you are seeing, different signs of Iran influence in almost everywhere, Everybody now acknowledge that Iran is part of solution when it comes to Syria, when it comes to Iraq, when it comes to Lebanon, Afghanistan, and even Palestine. So that's enough. That's enough influence for Iran. Why should Iran go to create problem for itself? So these are a strategic, argument why Iran doesn't need a bomb. Experientially speaking, also, religiously speaking, as you know, the leader has announced in the text everywhere, Iran, and religiously speaking, based on Islam, based on the text, based on Sunni and Shia both, the discriminative way of defending yourself is very important. For that reason, WMD has no place in our defense doctrine based on religion. And also going back to the history, 8 years of the war was very important. I myself, the victim of chemical weapon, the bomb was exploded 3 meters to me. I'm representing tens of thousands of Iranians who've been victim of chemical weapon. So I'm talking on behalf of all those tens of thousands of the people. Though we were victims, though many of us have been killed, many of us waiting to be killed because of this chemical weapon, but none of us really, no time we say, okay, we should retaliate in the same manner. And we did not use it in the 8 years of the war. All this comes because of religious duty, religious belief system that, okay, WMD is not part of our doctrine. So this audio also tells you that why we really do not need a bomb. If that is the case, if we do not really need a bomb, then we should go and solve the problem for, but at the same time, for Iranians, some other things also are important. First of all, sense of deprivation. In last 35 years, because the real message of revolution was independence. And for that independence, everybody tried to deprive Iran from its rights, almost on every aspect. I very much remember in the time of 8 years of the war with Saddam Hussein, Japanese sometimes did not sell us this Toyota Land Cruiser. And they said, this is a strategic weapon, What do you understand of this? This means that Iranians have been deprived from the simplest thing when it comes to the war. So this sense of deprivation have pushed Iranians to say, okay, we should stand on our own foot, and 8 years of the war, showed us how we should stand on our own foot and how should we defend our territorial integrity and all we have, gained. So that is a very important point. If you feel sense of deprivation, so you should stand on your own foot. That's why we push for nuclear technology and know-how, and we have gained it, and we have it, and we will never lose it, and we keep it. And we will give to everybody who wants to use it at the same time. The second point is that, Iranians feel that they have been treated as second-hand citizens of international community. And that is hurting for Iranian people. As long as this is the sense of Iranian people, why should be so? And for that reason, we keep, on what we have. The third point is that really, we cannot rely on the big, actors of international system. That's part of historical experience that we have in the war and peace, because down the road, Iran is a country with 7,000 years of history, 7,000 years of war and peace. We have learned how to treat with the big enemy and all those kind of things. And the last point is, sense of pride. Everybody, every nation is so, but this maybe for Iranians, which have fought and which have struggled, The revolution that we got in 1979, it was the conclusion of exactly 100 years of struggle and revolution. And this has been very, very expensive one. But of course, it was the most popular revolution of last century. And we are very, very proud of that. So that revolution has brought a sense of being pride from on the side of the people of Iran. And for that reason, having this nuclear technology, nuclear know-how, and what we are now at this point is really a sense of pride for Iranian, and they have paid a lot of price for that. We never will lose it, no matter what. So that's another point. Then where we stand now? The negotiations has really a very positive atmosphere. I was there, let's say, a month ago in Vienna. I'm not part of negotiation, but I felt the atmosphere very, very much positive, both sides, even between Iranians and American negotiators. So atmosphere is there, is positive, but on the substance, the difference is not little, and the difference is almost high. The most important issue is enrichment. So the difference between both sides is about enrichment. Other issues also are there, but enrichment is more important. Two different readings. One is that Iran argues, based on the accord that we have signed, that practical need based on the agreement is very important. And practical needs is, Iran does need fuel for Bushehr power plant. So for that matter, the number of centrifuges, the amount of fuel which is produced should be in accordance with these practical needs, which all the experts of IAEA also agree with that. But the Americans have brought this new concept of breakout time instead of practical needs, and their calculation of breakout times. We don't know how is that, okay, Iran will have within 2 months the capability to make a bomb. And they want this to make it, let's say, for 1 year instead of 2 months, which is a very important thing. And their argument is that the intelligence, American intelligence or Western intelligence, have had accurate intelligence that before 2003, Iran has been systematically, going after the bomb. Of course, my argument is that in last 35 years, how many assessment of CIA has become really accurate and correct one, that this one would be also a correct, calculation. Almost none of the assessment of CIA in last 3 decades at the important level. Let's talk about Iraq. Let's talk about Al Qaeda. Let's talk about 9/11. Let's talk about so many other issues. None of assessment of CIA has been have proved to be the valid one. Why this one is valid? So, but still they push that Iran will get in 2 months to the enough material to make a bomb. For that reason, they say, assuming Iran changed the way again, so they want to have enough time to do whatever they have in their mind. Our calculation, the technician calculations, proves that that is not absolutely the case. The technician of Iranian atomic energy facilities says that this is 4 years. So it's a very, very big difference between their calculation of breakout times and our calculation of breakout times. But this is still a problem. And that is the most important thing, and the difference which remains there. The problem is that if they keep telling on that, it means stalemate. Last time that the same team negotiated with Europeans, some times ago, Iran has accepted at that time symbolically to have enrichment. But since Europeans did not come out, forward, then now we are at the point that Iran has 19,000 centrifuges. At that time we were talking about, let's say, a few hundred centrifuges. Now Iran has about 19,000 centrifuges. If they do not come forward, for sure Iran will not stop. We continue. Next time that again come for next negotiation, possibly you will talk about 100,000 of centrifuges, not a few hundred, not a few thousand. You will talk about 100,000 of centrifuges. So that would be the real consequence on the ground if negotiations fail at this moment, and we hope that it does not fail. The second problem is that sanctions are very, very important. Important is that not to say that sanctions are made Iranian people desperate of negotiation. Those who think Iran is desperate because of the sanction and that's why Iran has come to negotiation, they are making absolutely a big mistake. That's not the case. No way. For sure it is a pressure. For sure our people are suffering. But this doesn't mean that Iran is desperate for the sanction. But at the same time, sanction relief is their responsibility. Iran cannot accept, their proposal to do whatever they say in enrichment, in Fordo, in other, facilities, At the same time, they say, okay, we cannot lift the sanction, and we just waive the sanction, or we lift sanction partially. This is really what Iranian cannot accept. The sanctions, of course, have been illegally in the first place. If Iran wants to come forward in the negotiation, sanctions also has to be relieved, entirely altogether. And it is possible. Those sanctions which are in Europe, those unilateral sanctions of American, and also UN sanctions, all of them. So this is also the point which I have to make. Down the road, I'm not that much pessimistic, because of looking at the atmosphere. The alternative to negotiation is something that nobody wants. For that reason is that there should be some hope. However, if the negotiations now have 4-month times, if we are not successful within 4 months to get to some kind of agreement, then you should talk about a new type of agreement, just similar to what we had in Geneva, and then you are talking about a new process. So many other aspects of this is very important. American domestic politics, Iranian domestic politics, the role, what is happening in Ukraine, Russia, all these factors also, almost all of them are on behalf of Iran position. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Bringing this information from inside the process of negotiations, and also thank you for the quite optimistic or realistic vision about development of this process. And now let's invite our colleague Razvan Buzatu to bring another perspective, the perspective from the field, and I want to thank you so much as you are so often around, traveling around, and it's a privilege to have you here in Romania to our event. Razvan, you have the floor. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Murishan. Ladies and gentlemen present at this prestigious workshop, Your Excellencies, representatives of the diplomatic field, Secretaries of State, Mr. Director General, it is a pleasure and an honor to be here with you and with our distinguished guests from Iran. I bid you welcome to Romania. I am here with my colleague Cătălin Buciumanu, and we're from the Center for Strategic Studies, and we are trying to be present on ground in the region that Dr. Murishan just mentioned to you. And I think that this workshop has started in a positive manner. I think that what our distinguished guest, the Director General, has said, that we look with hope, we look for negotiations that will have a positive outcome in the 5+1 agreement. We look basically on how to build, on how to react on both sides to what happens in the nuclear power plants in Arak, in Naranz, in Fordo. And I think that on our side, having taken this step and having acceptance from Iran to go on ground and see what happens there, it's a first positive step. The second one is that when they've accepted, also the European Union and the United States of America and the international community as a whole has also accepted to decrease and decelerate the sanctions, some of the sanctions on Iran. So there have been made steps on both sides, because it's important to understand that we're dealing with an actor that has the vocation to become a regional player or a global player, as it wants to become. We are dealing with an actor that has also previous connections and relations with the 5 negotiating parties in the 5+1 agreement. we are dealing with an actor that had and has very good commercial and trade relations with Iran, and I'm speaking here about Germany, about France, about the United Kingdom, and of course, toppled on that, we have the European Union, which headed through Baroness Catherine Ashton the negotiations for this agreement that I think we are all in the same agreement that it has represented a great step in November 2013. Having said this, I think that the approach that we are trying to promote here is to bring to the table representatives of the civil society in Iran, representatives of the public institutions of the government of Iran, and also some of the private sector in Iran, and discuss with them how do they see their problems, how do they want to interact with us, how do we want to interact with them, and based on that, to see on a short-term basis, on a medium and long-term basis, how can we increase our development together. Based on this, Iran has made a lot of positive steps, like the European Union, like the United States of America, and like the whole international community that is involved in the negotiations. I'm speaking here, of course, that I had the opportunity 2 months ago to speak to the Minister of Economy and Finance of Iran for 2 hours, and I asked him a lot of questions about how they want to interact with the international community. It was not to my surprise that he was very interested in the model that the European Union is promoting for development. It was also not to my surprise that he said that the economy of Iran has a few potential strategic aspects that we should take into consideration. And also, it was a little bit to my surprise the fact that he was very interested that after the Geneva Agreement has been signed, and also some of the economic sanctions were out of favor, of course, that some of the economic sectors, like the petrochemical sector, like the automobile sector, like the oil and gas sectors, would prevail with the partnership of European countries, of European private sector, and of course the US sector. So you see, we are not only looking at the problems, we are looking at the solutions, we are looking at Iran to be part of the solution, as we are part of the solution to Iran, and based on that, to understand that this is just a 6 months agreement, it's a first step. After these 6 months, if the representatives and the specialists and the experts of the IAEI are going and visiting and reporting on the 3 major nuclear energy plants in Iran, will see the development and will understand very, very much the development, then of course, after 6 months' time, we will look at another agreement. We will probably look, and hopefully we will look at decreasing more sanctions. And based on that, we will see in a year's time that Iran has to become somehow part of our solution of the international community. At the end, I would like to give you a few ideas on how can we increase the effects, the positive effects of this agreement, because we know the negative effects. If this agreement would not have taken place, there would have been political negative effects, there would have been economic negative effects, judicial negative effects, international negative effects. But now, what we have is a stable situation. We have a possibility, based on negotiation, And what we have is a European Union, through Catherine Ashton, that made this possible, of course with the support of the other actors. And I look forward to the questions and answers session and to the debates that we're going to have here together today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lieutenant, from bringing these insights from the activities which are now in work in progress in the region, in this special relationship. And one of the topics I'm sure you discussed also on the ground was energy security. So we had on our agenda, and I'm very pleased that I have the chance now to invite Professor Karimi to start to make a presentation about this topic, and then I will also add some slides for you to review. So please.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is a pleasure to be with you. Thank you very much. I'm thankful to the organizers and particularly our ambassador here that made this opportunity. My aim of presenting this PowerPoint or this subject is just to bring to your kind attention that global challenges requires global solution. So we are all in one corner. As Mr. Razvan said, that we have to have dialogue. To have a solution for the challenges, we need dialogue. They call us, either the scholars or the diplomats, as chattering class. We just talk. We are not engineered to have other instruments. So we have to use each and every opportunity to present ourselves, to remove the misunderstanding. Because if you have misunderstanding, that you will have misperception. And misperception will lead to misjudgment. It is interesting, I thought it's good to tell you that perhaps all of you have heard this British saying that we don't have any permanent enemies or friends. The national interest is our permanent friends. Just a few days ago, I was reading a comment by a British politician. He said that that was wrong. We have to change the course. No country nowadays think about national interest because challenges has become so wide, international. You can't just think about your own security. It has to be for all. Otherwise, you will be affected by it. And you see that in Syria, in Iraq. A few years ago, it was so far in Afghanistan. But now, step by step, it's getting closer to the European shore, in Mediterranean. I won't be surprised if you have problem in some European country, as you have the status and the data says that during the 2013, there was more than 152 terrorist attacks in European continent. 66% of that was in France. And the year before that, in 2012, there was more than 200 terrorist attacks in European continent. So I want to give you a little bit test of change from an Iranian perspective. What's going on in Europe? European has just gone through that economic crisis, but another crisis is emerging, energy crisis. Sooner or later, the winter will come, the game will start again. Just last month you had European Parliament election, how the racism, nationalism was rising. then Russia is creating problem or becoming a repeated threat to European continent, their influence and domination, or the US pivot out of Europe, creating again the headache for the European. The future of NATO is in question because they have to leave Afghanistan, they are looking for a home. German rise of power is another point, which is not the Romanian, but many other countries in the western part of the continent are worried about it. So, but we know that the Europeans are master of turning the threats to opportunity. So the great game of geopolitics may come back again, because some politicians, they say that they remember those good old days because there was Cold War, US was taking care of the European security umbrella, you had the prosperity in Europe, social welfare was good, and nationalism to that Cold War will be contained. The problem in European Parliament will be contained, and Russia will be out again, US in again, and German, nobody knows because the argument is going on. There was a saying that the aim of NATO to create it in 1949 was 3 elements behind the scene. To keep Russia out, to get US in, and to down the Germans. But the course was changing. US is pivoting out, Russia was more influential in the continent, and the German was rising. So we have to wait and see, and EU will be united again, and the Atlantic school of thought will prevail again, because there are 2 schools of thought in Europe. One was the Gaullists, they wanted to be more independent, but there was one Atlantic thinking of making interaction, interdependency between Europe and the US. Now coming to the energy, if you look at the French consumption on energy, as you see, the nuclear is the highest energy consumption for France. The red one is for 2011, they are using it. So coming on nuclear point of Iran as well, we need it. We are 85 million population. More than 50% of Iranian population are young. You can't bar a country from advanced technology, although we do have plenty of gas and oil resources, but to have other technology is necessary for a country to test it, to have diversity of the energy resources. I just give a brief slice on the energy consumption of the European continent. You see that countries as small as Lithuania using the energy from nuclear, but they have been, fading away of using that energy in 2011. Slovenia, Sweden, Germany even, many people, they say in public that Germany is free of any nuclear energy, but they still are using. They have it. Sometimes they advise to Iranian when we have roundtable, you see, we have put them aside. I said, why you give the example of Germany? You could have the example of France for Iran. Germany perhaps might not be a good example for Iran. The Poland also, they are not using free of any energy. I have brought here your country as well, Romania. I heard some news that by the end of this decade, there's a good news that Romania will be self-sufficient and maybe in future the hub for energy distribution. So there is a plenty of opportunity for both countries to cooperate, because we do have lots of resources, and the European continent desperately they would like to have these resources. The only problem is the channeling it to Europe. Perhaps one of the ways to finalize it, to facilitate, to bring the energy to the European continent could be directly from Iran, Persian Gulf to Iraq and Syria. But you see, both the countries are engaged. I was just reading some article a few days ago from a Turkish newspaper when the war between Israel, genocide they are doing against the Palestinian people, or killing the kids and women over there, is because of the offshore of gas resources in Gaza area. Because British Petroleum were engaged over there, so the Israelis wanted to stop that. So energy is really matters, and it is a challenge we have to think about seriously. So what is the solution or the common grounds? I think interdependency is a two-way street for all the countries. We have to sit together, talk together, have dialogue together, to present each other, to be positive, as it has been mentioned, to be optimistic. A diplomat has to be optimistic. We have to try. Nuclear energy as an option is in Europe to use. They are not proposing the other countries, the other means of energy because of the this Ukraine crisis and the Russian crisis. So this option, if it's for European continent or the European countries, why not for Iran? To be frank with you, it is stupid to go nuclear. We would like to have is for peaceful purposes, because we want to have advancement in agriculture, in medicine. To prove my argument, I give you 3 practical examples. You know how many warheads the Soviet Union and the United States they had. But the nuclear weapons didn't save the Soviet from the collapse. It didn't save New York from the attack. Right? Even some regime in the Middle East, they do have, it is alleged they have 200, 400 nuclear warheads. But still they feel insecure. Then what is the use of having it? Perhaps Iran have 1, 2, 3, 5. Is it comparable to the thousands of nuclear warheads the West as a whole they have it? That is an excuse to keep us busy. I hope that negotiation will go on. Everybody is hopeful. And we hope the other members of the European Union, particularly Romania, which played as an interlocutor between other countries, to play a bolder role, to push other countries to go along with it. LNG could be another, possibility. Security for all. If it is for European, it should be for other countries. Unity among the EU, I think, will be emerging again. And the most important point is that we shouldn't use energy as a weapons, political weapons, for other purposes. Thank you very much for your attention. In case there is a question,
the last and the least important topic is terrorism. And this is the topic which I try to elaborate some point. Let me preempt myself and start with conclusion. I am this idea that we are facing more questions than answers. I think we are in an era of having too many questions, little insight of how to deal with those questions. Therefore, my presentation may, sorry to say, make you confused or make you leaving this room with many more questions rather than having any answers. I would like to start with a point which is shared with all students of international politics, that the present era is an era of transition in international politics. Transitional era is an era which does have its own specificity. The main of them is that in that era, the two things are dominant. First is the minimum common strategic vision existed in and between the states. The second is that all alliances are opportunistic and also very, very limited one. Therefore, no one can rely on any long-term strategic vision and cannot also witness a durable pattern of alliances between the states. To tell you why I'm starting with this point, let me just share with you a saying which is in the literature of international politics, coming from a French general. He said that generals and diplomats are actually forced with their experiences, and they think future on the basis of their experiences. Therefore, they don't really, I don't want to say always, come with a good solution for the future. They are ready for the past war. They cannot understand the future war. And their preparation is for the past war. Their preparation is not for the future. Diplomat is the same. Diplomat is using history, using historical experiences in understanding the situation, and sometimes not, but always in transitional period they are wrong, because their judgment is about and based on history. But this transitional area needs some creative ideas, needs someone to tell us something new. We need someone to project ideas and insight which is different from the past. Therefore, I want to conclude from this short statement that we need to talk to each other. We need to share our knowledge to each other. We need to be in close relation with each other in analyzing the situation, and we have to respect each other in all different cases. And I hope that this type of venue would actually be held in Tehran and in other cities in the Middle East, especially in Middle East. I'm sorry to say some of our friends are here. We, the people in Middle East, coming to Europe and talking to each other, we don't really have any type of linkages to talk to each other in the region. And that's good, that's really good for the European, to bring all of us to sometimes in Europe to talk to each other. I hope that in the region we also could actually provide a mentality and organization in order to talk to each other and in order to understand each other. But let me just go on some key issues which is needed to understand that transitional period. Every student of international politics knows that because the transitional context of international politics is the context within which the policies are formulated, and that transitional context is fluid one, is not a solid one. Therefore, the decision and the policies are oriented to be short-sighted. They are not targeting a long-term issues. They try to target very imminent and immediate issues. Therefore, the type of policies which we witness are very, very short-sighted ones. And that is very crucial when we come to how to tackle terrorism. Because if you want to understand and formulate policies towards terrorism in the context of transitional international politics, you cannot formulate a long-term strategies towards terrorism, and therefore that would bring some fuel to terrorism rather than tackling the terrorism. Therefore, I wanted to tell you that by the structural normative of all decision makers, we making complicated the issue of terrorism rather than tackling it. This is one point which we have to be aware of, and we have to think how to get rid of that. To tell you about the importance of terrorism, why we should think about terrorism, why we should care about terrorism, the concept and the issue of terrorism. I just want to refer you to a study done by Department of Peace Studies in UK, Bradford, to tell you the magnitude of the importance of the issue. In that report, said that if one chemical explosion in one of the main metro station in New York, London, or Paris, in specific times and all those things happen, the number of people who can die would be roughly about the whole individuals who died in First World War. If you want, just refer to that study to tell you how terrorism can be a very crucial element in our daily life. I want to tell you, and I don't want to go in depth on different issues related to terrorism. And right now you know that nuclear terrorism, how that could actually affect our life. It's not all about those macro level issues which terrorism can cause for us. It's the micro level issues which is also important in knowing the importance of terrorism. Nobody actually emphasized how terrorism terrorized social relationship in different regions of this planet. Any of us can actually imagine to witness in 21st century an individual eating human organ in front of cameras. That happened actually. And also, if you look at how the social relationship, the individual right is ignored. Look at Afghanistan, how the finger is cut. The finger of those who've been voting has been cut. Therefore, what I want to tell you, terrorism is important. Terrorism is not only a macro level issue, is a micro level issue, and needs to be tackled through a very calm and continuous process of thinking and all together. How can I propose you solution, because I just want to be very short in order to finish the presentation. We do have flight and we have to catch the flight. I think if we understand the issue well, which needs some thinking and talking, the idea which can be proposed by myself, at least in the regional context, and I share it with the other friends as well, is let's bring about a political arrangement in the region for the purpose of conflict resolution in the region. What that political arrangement can be. And this is a very crucial point. That political arrangement can coincide with nation state. Therefore, I think we have to consolidate the basis of nation state in the region, in the Middle East. I came down to the Middle East in order to shorten my presentation. In Middle East, I think, first of all, we have to concentrate how to strengthen the idea and the institution of nation state. By nation state, I think a type of social order which could actually create some stability inside and could have some normalized relation outside. It is hard in Middle East to achieve that because of several reasons. First of all, in our region, there is no political vision of what is a good state, what is a good nation state. We do have different definition of good states. Therefore, I think this is one of the challenges which we should overcome in region by talking to each other. In a region with a limited connection between civil societies, I think it is hard to achieve that goal. Therefore, it is a challenge. It is a challenge in the region to come to a normative basis of understanding what is the best political organization which could actually govern the life of the citizens. Therefore, for me, the first challenge is to how to bring the region to talk to each other. We don't have that much consolidated civil society in the whole region. In the absence of civil society, it is hard to bring the people close, talk to each other, and understanding each other. This is one problem which I hope that we should come to conclusion. Maybe today we could actually find out how we can achieve that normative basis, because I think the first problem for me is lack of normative problem in the whole region, and I don't really have any solution how to achieve it. But I pray I would come to a solution from the discussion of today or maybe tomorrow in places. The second point, which is also very critical to the whole problem of terrorism, is a strategic rivalry between the big states in the region. And I think that strategic rivalry is a point which causes a problem for all of them, and none of them can get out of the cage of that rivalry. Therefore, any solution to how to bring the big powers to understanding that a shared and common interests would serve their interests as well. Once Kissinger said that stability, international politics actually, as he said, taught us that stability is out of balance of power or bad outcome of hegemony. In our region, there is no single nation which could actually create hegemony. We should know that. And we should believe that. And I think we should come to the sense that sharing the power is only the solution, which could actually create a stability in the region. Because I do believe why I am trying to emphasizing on that point is that I believe the space which is crucial for terrorism to actually revive itself is given by the states through different ways. Therefore, I believe if that space is taken away from terrorism, there is a good chance of defeating that phenomena in the region. Therefore, the second point which I propose is that how we can come to a solution to bringing the major states of the region to the type of understanding that the best way to serve their national interest is through dialogue, understanding, and sharing power and responsibilities. It is also a crucial and important issue. The third issue, which is also important, how the big power play the regional politics, which is very important. United States, I don't wish to blame anyone for the misery of the region. I just want to tell you how complex is the situation. The United States, in different ways, in the last decades, created a lot of problems in the region and left those problems to the people of the region and say bye-bye. We are out. We have something else to do. Look at not only that type of mentality of the United States, but the way which they see terrorism, and they use it tactically in the whole region. The United States used terrorism as a tactic of its foreign policy for a long period of time, and that affects daily life of the region. Everybody knows what late Benazir Bhutto said in BBC interview. When she was asked about Taliban, she responded that why we are trying to fooling ourselves. She said, Taliban is a product of CIA, is a byproduct of MI6, and us. Therefore, how the United States actually try to advance its objectives in the region, unfortunately created terrorism and also reproduced terrorism in different ways. Look at Mr. Obama, said that they will inject money in Syria. That money for sure would go to different individuals. And not the United States, but Russia as well. But in different ways, and not on the same scale. If the United States, I think if I want to tell you something in advance, I believe the Russian involvement in the region would increase. And that increase of the role of Russia would have I'm not a diplomat. I just want to tell you what I believe would have a negative effect on the stability and security of the region. Sorry, I have to be in diplomatic word, but my mentality is not really diplomat. I just want to share with you what I believe. Maybe I'm wrong. You correct me. I'm just telling you what I believe. You just tell me if I'm wrong. I will change my views. Therefore, big power politics actually generated terrorism in our region. And it actually reproduced terrorism in our region. If and when that mentality change, and the big power politics see the region not in a short-sighted vision, but in the long-term vision, that could also be helpful. I wish to conclude that we are in an era of paradigm confusion. We don't know what is good. We don't know what is the problem. And in that era, we need to talk. We need to listen. We need to accept each other's. And I am so grateful of you and the organizers to bring us together, to talk to each other. And I hope some days in Lebanon, maybe, in Iran, hopefully, in other cities, in Palestine, hopefully, coming to each other and talking to each other. And I hope to tell you one example of how short-sighted it is. Today, news actually said the United States allow Israelis to use the weaponry system which they were not being allowed to use up to now in order to counter Palestinians. That type of short-sighted vision in the foreign policy is the problem of the region, is part of the problem of the region, because we are also part of the problem of the region. And I hope some days the United States believe that accepting and acknowledging the life of one Palestinian in the same manner which they accept the life of one Jew is the solution. And I hope that even we in the region accept that one Shia should see a Sunni in the same manner which they see another Shia is also helpful. Thank you very much for your patience.